The Galactic Dominion's Grand Chamber hushed as Intelligence Director Zex Terrell glided to the center platform. His towering insectoid form cast a long shadow across the polished obsidian floor, crystalline compound eyes gleaming under the chamber's bioluminescent ceiling. Representatives of the 16 dominant species shifted in their anti-gravity thrones, appendages of various configurations tapping impatiently against armrests. Honored Council, Zex Terrell began, his mandibles clicking rhythmically as translator implants converted his speech to the Dominion's unified language. I present our centennial assessment of designation, Sol 3, locally known as Earth. With a flourish of his primary limbs, he activated the central holographic array. A perfect representation of the blue-green planet materialized, rotating slowly as data streams cascaded around it. The council members leaned forward, their attention momentarily captured by the unremarkable world. As you can see, Zex Terrell continued, zooming the display to show humans celebrating in what appeared to be a control center. The dominant species recently landed a primitive rover on their fourth planet. They believe this represents cutting-edge achievement. Ripples of amusement spread through the chamber. The Vexiluthian ambassador's gelatinous form vibrated with mirth, releasing pheromones of derision that made neighboring representatives recoil slightly. Primitive but fascinating, Zex Terrell added, mandibles twitching with barely concealed contempt. The footage shifted to show human cities, transportation networks, and energy facilities. Their reliance on fossil combustion continues, though they've begun rudimentary harnessing of solar radiation and atomic fission. Emperor Claxtherian's massive tentacles slithered forward, its bioluminescent suckers pulsing with imperial authority. Progress status. The Emperor demanded, voice resonating from specialized chambers within his bulbous head. Zex Terrell gestured again, and a holographic timeline appeared, tracing human technological progression from their first primitive aircraft to recent space stations. At current advancement rates, interstellar capability remains at least 2 centuries away. Their propulsion theories are fundamentally flawed, still focused on reaction-based systems and theoretical warp concepts that ignore basic quintessence principles. Classification recommendation, asked the Minister of Species Management, her 12 eyes blinking in rapid sequence. Category 3, Zex Terrell replied without hesitation. Technologically advancing, but presenting no immediate relevance to Dominion interests. Standard observation protocols with minimal resource allocation. In the service corridor behind the chamber, junior analyst Vex Mora clutched a data crystal to her thorax, 4 heart analogs pulsing rapidly beneath her exoskeleton. 3 cycles of work, analyzing anomalous data from the Sol system, had finally yielded results that demanded council attention. The security drones had initially blocked her passage, but her supervisor's emergency authorization had finally granted her access to the council session. She scurried forward as Zex Terrell concluded his presentation, her smaller stature and dull gray exoskeleton marking her as a lower-cased functionary. Director, she called, voice modulator pitched to convey urgency without disrespect. I have supplementary data requiring immediate review. The chamber fell silent. Lower functionaries did not address council sessions directly. Zex Terrell's head swiveled, mandibles clicking in irritation. Analyst Vex Mora. This interruption violates protocol. She extended the data crystal with a trembling limb. Sir, our deep space monitoring array detected unusual energy fluctuations near the gas giant designated Jupiter. The signatures match no known natural phenomenon and suggest technological. Your enthusiasm exceeds your expertise. Analyst, Zex Terrell interrupted, making no move to accept the crystal. Solar radiation interacting with the planet's magnetosphere creates numerous anomalies. This has been documented since our first survey. But sir, these readings indicate enough. Emperor Claxtherian's tentacle slammed down, cracking the ceremonial stone table before him. Crystalline fragments skittered across the floor as chamber servitors rushed to repair the damage. Classification, Category 3. Observation only. 200 years minimum before reassessment. His gelatinous eye stalks swiveled toward Zexteril. Next item. Vexamora stood frozen, data crystal still extended, as the Council's attention shifted to reports from the Andromeda expansion front. A security drone hovered closer, its weapon systems humming softly. "Return to your station, analyst," Zexteril ordered quietly. "And be grateful the Emperor values efficiency too highly to waste time on your disciplinary hearing." She retreated, head bowed in the prescribed gesture of submission, but her mind raced. As she passed through the quantum-locked service entrance, she slipped the data crystal into her personal analysis device, rather than returning it to Central Archives. The readings from Jupiter weren't mere magnetospheric anomalies. They showed energy signatures that, according to all Dominion science, should be impossible for humans to generate. Back in her cramped quarters, surrounded by outdated monitoring equipment allocated to low-priority systems, Vexamora created a rogue algorithm isolated from the central network. If the Council wouldn't listen, she would monitor Sol independently. The algorithm would alert her if the energy pattern repeated, evidence that would be too concrete to dismiss. Next time, she whispered to the holographic display of Earth rotating above her desk, "I'll have proof." The display flickered briefly as her algorithm activated, one small subroutine in the vast Dominion network now watching Earth more carefully than anyone had in centuries. Sirens wailed through the Dominion Strategic Command Center, their haunting multi-tonal screech designed to penetrate the varied auditory systems of 16 species. Emergency lights strobed, bathing the command deck in alternating hues of red and violet. Admiral Crexvorn was violently ejected from his sleep stasis pod, suspension fluid sluicing off his heavily scaled hide. Biosensors detected his elevated heart rates and automatically injected stimulants into his bloodstream. The Admiral staggered, his massive form barely supported by legs, still reconnecting to his neural pathways. "Status," he barked, thick claws digging into the deck plating as he pulled himself toward the command hub. Sub-Commander Drix, her thin membranous skin displaying stress patterns of mottled purple, gestured frantically at the tactical display. "Unidentified warships at Outpost Krell 9, sir," she stammered, her translator struggling to keep pace with her rapid speech. 57 vessels in attack formation. Crexvorn's secondary heart faltered momentarily as he processed the information. Krell 9 housed the Dominion's most productive quantum ore mining facility, the rare material essential for galactic communication networks and high-yield weapons. "How did they penetrate our outer sensor grid?" he demanded, studying the unknown vessel's configuration. Sleek and predatory, their design followed no recognized architectural principles. "They didn't, sir." Trix's voice dropped almost to a whisper. "No warp signatures registered. No jump distortion. No folded space residue. They simply appeared. Simultaneously, as if they'd been there all along, just unseen." "Impossible." Crexvorn hissed through clenched teeth. His tertiary brain began evaluating strategic options while his dominant consciousness focused on threat assessment. "Known affiliations, rogue elements from the Andromeda campaign." "Nothing, sir. They match nothing in our database." The main screen flickered as a communication request pinged through the command systems. The bridge crew fell silent as a small bipedal figure appeared on screen. The creature's soft, furless face was framed by dark head fibers pulled tightly back. A crisp dark uniform accentuated the being's fragile-looking frame, silver insignia gleaming on its shoulders. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," the creature announced in flawless Standard Dominion. "I request immediate diplomatic contact with Dominion leadership." Crexvorn's massive jaw slackened, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Human." The word emerged as a strangled growl. That's not possible. They're planet-bound primitives." His claws flew across the tactical console, calling up intelligence reports from Sol. The most recent classification flashed on his private screen. Category 3 species, interstellar capability estimated at minimum 200 cycles from present. Admiral Chen's expression remained composed, almost serene. "I assure you, Admiral Crexforn, we are very much here, and we've been waiting a long time for this introduction." The human's use of his name, information she should not possess, sent a chill through Crexforn's spine ridges. Behind her, through the view screen, space itself seemed to ripple and distort. A massive vessel materialized from nothingness, its hull bristling with weapon systems of incomprehensible design. Twice the size of any Dominion capital ship, it dwarfed even the human fleet that had triggered the alarms. "Perhaps," Admiral Chen continued, her voice still unnervingly calm, "your superiors would like to reconsider our classification status." Intelligence Officer Traxfeller's chameleonic skin rippled, adapting to the shadow-dappled concrete of the abandoned subway tunnel. For 3 weeks, he had infiltrated Earth's major research facilities, stolen data, planted surveillance, observed their supposedly primitive technology. His mission: discover how humans had achieved the impossible. The Imperial Intelligence Directorate had assigned him top priority clearance after the Krell 9 incident. Find out how they deceived us. Director Zex Terrell had ordered, compound eyes flashing with fury. 3 centuries of observation, and we missed everything. Traxfeller's specialized sensors detected a subsonic vibration emanating from the tunnel wall ahead. His implanted translator identified no matching patterns in Earth's infrastructure database. Following the vibration to its source, he discovered a section of wall that appeared ordinary, yet his instincts, honed through decades of espionage, told him otherwise. His molecular analyzer revealed nothing unusual about the concrete: standard composition, expected age degradation. And yet, he pressed a specialized appendage against the surface, deploying microscopic sensors. Suddenly, his body lurched forward as the solid wall became insubstantial, a holographic projection indistinguishable from reality. Traxfeller tumbled into a vast chamber, catching himself with practiced grace. His ocular implants automatically adjusted to the brilliantly lit interior, revealing a facility that sent shockwaves through his nervous system. Scientists worked around a central pillar of swirling energy, unmistakably a quantum fold generator. The Dominion's Theoretical Physics Council had proposed such technology only decades ago, declaring it at least 5 centuries from practical application. Yet here it stood, operational and apparently stable. "We have a visitor," announced a calm voice. The chamber's activity ceased as spotlights converged on Traxfeller's position. His adaptive camouflage, useless in direct illumination, reset to his natural blue-gray coloration. Armed guards surrounded him, weapons leveled. Though strangely, none fired. A silver-haired human approached, walking with unhurried confidence. "I'm Director Malcolm Hayes, Special Projects Division." The human studied him with unsettling directness. "We've been expecting Dominion intelligence to find us eventually. Your search patterns were quite predictable." Traxfeller abandoned his cover identity. "Pointless now. This technology, you shouldn't have this." Hayes smiled. "This facility, it's one of our oldest, practically obsolete by current standards." He gestured around the chamber. "We maintain it partly for historical significance. The first successful quantum fold was achieved here in 2097. "That's impossible," Traxfeller whispered. "Our observation posts recorded no such advancement." "Of course not. We detected your observation posts 300 years ago." Hayes led him toward a display showing Earth's technological timeline, a very different version than the one in Dominion archives. "Everything you've been monitoring has been our planetary-scale theater production, a carefully crafted illusion showing exactly what we wanted you to see." Across the galaxy, at the Dominion capital, Admiral Chen's diplomatic shuttle descended through the atmosphere, escorted by a nervous formation of Dominion fighters. As she prepared to disembark, she activated a holographic display for her waiting reception committee. The projection showed 47 human colonies and outposts throughout unexplored space, worlds the Dominion had never detected, inhabited by billions of humans living with technology centuries beyond what should have been possible. "We have much to discuss," she told the stunned greeting committee, stepping onto Dominion soil with the confidence of someone who knew precisely how the balance of power had shifted. High Praetor Zol's seven-fingered hands trembled with barely contained rage as he stood at the head of the Dominion Council table. The emergency session had stretched into its 30th hour, the chamber's atmosphere recyclers struggling to process the stress pheromones emitted by the gathered representatives. Another report from the Cygnus sector, announced the military liaison, sliding a data crystal across the polished table surface. Human outpost detected on the fourth moon of Helix Prime. Established approximately 70 years ago, according to preliminary scans. Zolt's facial ridges flushed deep crimson. Helix Prime. That's less than 6 light-years from our primary shipyards. Reports have been flooding in from across Dominion space. Human settlements, monitoring stations, and outposts discovered in regions previously thought uninhabited. Each revelation deepened the crisis threatening the Dominion's 12,000-year rule of known space. This deception cannot stand, Zol thundered, slamming a ceremonial war mace onto the table. The ancient weapon, carried by every High Praetor since the Dominion's founding, cracked the table's molecular bonded surface. We will not be made fools of by mammals barely emerged from their evolutionary cradle. Admiral Chen sat calmly across from him, her small human form dwarfed by the massive alien architecture. The only human in the room, she showed no sign of intimidation despite being surrounded by beings who, until recently, had considered her species barely worth monitoring. "We practiced no deception, Praetor," she replied, her voice level. "We simply didn't volunteer information you never directly asked for." Semantics. Zol roared, all 3 of his hearts visibly pulsing beneath his ceremonial armor. The Dominion has maintained galactic order for 12,000 cycles. All species submit to our authority or face consequences. He leaned forward, towering over her. Your colonies exist in Dominion space without sanction. This will be corrected. Chen raised an eyebrow, a subtle human gesture that nevertheless conveyed volumes of unspoken meaning. I was hoping for a more productive conversation. She tapped a small device on her wrist, a movement so casual it barely registered with the Council's security personnel. The chamber's lights flickered unexpectedly. The massive holographic display in the center of the room activated without authorization, overriding the Council's security protocols. It showed real-time footage from dozens of locations simultaneously. Human stealth vessels positioned near critical Dominion worlds, infrastructure hubs, and military installations. None had triggered a single alarm or detection system. That's the Imperial Palace, gasped a council member, pointing to one feed showing the human vessel hovering undetected above the Dominion's most sacred site. And the Fleet Command Headquarters, added another, voice cracking with disbelief. We come seeking peaceful relations, Chen said quietly, rising to her feet. The room fell silent, every alien eye fixed on her. But we will not be subjected to threats. She straightened her uniform with precise movements. Your detection systems don't work on our ships. Your weapons can't track our movements. And most importantly, you don't understand how we think. The council chamber erupted in shouting and threats as Chen calmly walked toward the exit. In the corridor outside, her aide whispered, "Was that wise, Admiral? Sometimes you need to lance the boil before healing can begin," she responded, eyes fixed ahead. They needed to understand we're not here to play by their rules. Behind her, visible through the still-open council doors, High Praetor Zol stared at the continuing holographic display, his expression shifting from rage to something far more dangerous for a leader of his position. Fear. Battle alarms screamed across the human fleet at Outpost Krell 9. Inside the flagship UES Invictus, Captain Miguel Ortega watched the tactical display as 12 Dominion warships emerged from hyperspace, energy signatures spiking as weapon systems powered up. All ships, defensive pattern Theta, he ordered, his voice steady despite the imminent threat. No return fire without my command. The bridge crew acknowledged his orders with practiced efficiency. No fear, no panic, just the quiet confidence of a military that had been preparing for this moment for generations. "Dominion vessels are locking weapons," reported Lieutenant Commander Park from Tactical. "Energy buildup consistent with Class 4 plasma cannons." Captain Ortega nodded. Predicted response. "Shield configurations as briefed." The first salvo launched from the Dominion vessels, devastating plasma weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds across the galaxy. The human ships made no attempt to evade. Instead, their hulls shimmered with an iridescent field as the plasma made contact. "Shield absorption at 94%, reported Park, eyes fixed on her readouts. Power reserves increasing from captured energy. Ortega allowed himself a small smile. The theoretical models had predicted 92% efficiency. The engineers would be pleased. On the Dominion command ship, Admiral Grechtel stared in disbelief at his tactical display. "Impossible," he snarled, slamming a clawed fist against his command console. "Fire again. All batteries." The second volley produced identical results. When Grechtel ordered a third, 3 human vessels vanished from Dominion sensors without warning, reappearing seconds later behind the alien formation. "Targeted quantum jumps," Grechtel gasped, mandibles clicking in agitation. "That's theoretical technology. Our best minds said it couldn't be stabilized." Captain Ortega opened a channel to the Dominion fleet. "Dominion vessels, this is your only warning. Power down weapons, or we will be forced to respond." Admiral Grechtel's pride overwhelmed his tactical sense. He ordered all ships to fire simultaneously, determined to overwhelm the human defenses through sheer firepower. The human vessels executed maneuvers that defied conventional physics, some seemingly occupying multiple positions simultaneously, others phasing partially out of normal spacetime. When they finally returned fire, it was with surgical precision, disabling engines, weapons, and communication systems without causing hull breaches or life support failures. In 14 minutes, the entire Dominion attack force drifted powerless in space, crews intact, but vessels rendered combat ineffective. A science vessel at the battle's edge, designated only for observation, had maintained its distance during the engagement. Its sensors, more sophisticated than the warship's tactical arrays, had captured detailed readings of the human vessels during combat. The chief scientist, a Vexiluthian theoretical physicist, collapsed in shock as the analysis completed. "They've mastered quantum probability manipulation," she whispered to her assistant. "Their ships exist in multiple potential states simultaneously until observation forces wave function collapse." She stared at the data in disbelief. That's generations beyond theoretical understanding. Across Dominion space, human ships simultaneously decloaked in key strategic positions, orbiting military headquarters, hovering near planetary defense installations, shadowing flagship vessels. The message was unmistakable. They could have struck at any time, anywhere, with no warning. On the Invictus, Captain Ortega received confirmation of the coordinated reveal. "Status of Dominion vessels?" he inquired. "All disabled, no casualties," Lieutenant Commander Park confirmed. "Life support functioning normally on all ships." Ortega nodded with satisfaction. "Transmit to Fleet Command. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting further instructions." He stared at the drifting Dominion warships on his view screen. "Let's hope they're smart enough to listen now." Archivist Learnoth's ancient body creaked as he led Admiral Chen through the restricted archives deep beneath the Dominion capital. The 15,000-year-old alien's translucent skin revealed failing organs kept functioning only through advanced medical technology, pulsing faintly with artificial bioluminescence. "Few remember the truth anymore," he wheezed, his translator struggling with his Arctic dialect. "The Dominion rewrites its own history when convenient. I alone survived from that era." Chen followed respectfully, noting the decreasing frequency of security checkpoints as they descended. Whatever they were approaching was either forgotten or deliberately hidden from most of the Dominion citizens. They stopped before a sealed vault door embedded in the living rock of the planet's crust. Lyernoth's 12 eyes blinked in sequence, triggering a recognition protocol that predated modern Dominion technology. The massive door slid open on mechanisms that had functioned flawlessly for millennia. "The Forbidden Archive," Lyernoth explained, gesturing Chen inside. The chamber beyond held artifacts of unfamiliar design, sleek, asymmetrical objects that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "The predecessors," he explained, his voice dropping to a reverent whisper. 50,000 years ago. They arose as you have, suddenly, unexpectedly powerful. He activated a control panel that seemed grafted directly into his withered arm. "We believed, as we do now, that we were the pinnacle of evolution. We were wrong." Holographic records activated, showing a devastating war that left hundreds of worlds in ruins. The images were fragmented, damaged by time or deliberate tampering, but clear enough to reveal the scale of destruction. "The conflict nearly destroyed both civilizations," Lyernoth continued. "In the end, desperate measures were taken." Chen studied the artifacts, recognition dawning in her eyes. "We found similar technology on Mars," she said quietly, "and beneath the ice on Europa. Mercury, too." Lyernoth's body trembled visibly. "You understand these technologies. Our greatest minds never deciphered them." "Not at first," Chen admitted. "It took us centuries. We found the first artifacts in 2047. By the time your observation posts arrived, we'd already begun to comprehend quantum probability manipulation. That's why you created the facade." Lyernoth's ancient eyes widened with understanding. Chen nodded. "We didn't know if you were friends or enemies, so we showed you what you expected to see while we prepared for either possibility." "And the predecessors?" Lyernoth asked, gesturing to a particular artifact, a twisted helix of dark material that seemed to shift dimensions when viewed from different angles. "We found no bodies, no biological traces, only their technology. As if they simply disappeared." Chen hesitated, weighing her next words carefully. "There's something else you should know. Some of their artifacts were still active when we found them, still sending signals outward." Lyernoth's breathing apparatus wheezed with sudden strain. "Outward, beyond the galactic rim." Chen nodded grimly. "We've been tracking those signals, trying to determine their destination. 3 months ago, we detected a response. The High Council must be informed immediately." Lyernoth turned toward the exit, but Chen gently caught his arm. "There's another reason I requested this meeting," she said. "Our linguists finally decoded some of the predecessor data archives. They weren't destroyed in a war with the Dominion." Her eyes met his directly. "They were running from something they couldn't defeat, even with their advanced technology." Lyernoth's ancient frame seemed to shrink further. "And you believe this threat is returning?" "We don't just believe it," Chen replied. "We've confirmed it, and it's heading directly toward Dominion space." Trade Commissioner Velks paced nervously in the secret meeting chamber, his 4 legs clicking against the polished floor. Representatives from 7 Dominion species sat around the table alongside 3 humans. The gathering itself was treason, punishable by molecular dissolution under imperial decree. "The Dominion has grown stagnant," Velks argued, gesturing toward holographic displays showing economic and scientific growth trends over the past millennium. "We've had no significant technological advancement in over 500 years, while maintaining the illusion of progress." The data streams told a clear story: plateaued research, recycled innovations merely repackaged, and an increasing reliance on exploiting resources from newly discovered worlds rather than developing sustainable alternatives. Admiral Chen and her team listened silently, allowing the Dominion representatives to voice their heretical thoughts freely. "What the humans represent isn't just a military threat," Velks continued, mandibles quivering with emotion. "It's an opportunity." He gestured to Dr. Eliza Camara, the quantum physicist who had accompanied Chen. "Their approach to physics alone could revolutionize everything from energy production to medicine." The Krell representative, a methane breather encased in an environmental suit, spoke through his translator. The Dominion built its power on subjugation disguised as protection. Many of us joined not out of choice but necessity. And now an alternative exists, added the representative from the silicon-based Litharians, crystal formations on her exterior reflecting the room's light in hypnotic patterns. Dr. Kamara rose and activated her own presentation. We're proposing something unprecedented, genuine partnership. The display shifted to show theoretical models of merged technologies. Human innovation combined with Dominion resources and experience. Not dominance, but collaboration. The door suddenly hissed open. Everyone froze as High Praetor Zol himself entered, flanked by elite guards carrying disintegration weapons. Guards moved to seize the gathering, but Zol raised a hand, stopping them with a gesture. Treason, Velks, he asked quietly, all three eyes fixed on his trade commissioner. Survival, Highness, Velks responded, standing his ground despite visible trembling. Zol studied the assembled group, his imperial armor reflecting the tension in the room. Show me why I shouldn't execute everyone here. Dr. Kamara stepped forward, meeting the praetor's gaze directly. Because of this, she projected a deep space scan showing massive energy signatures at the edge of charted space, signatures that pulsed with unnatural regularity. Something is coming. Something that has happened before. Chen spoke for the first time. The predecessors didn't vanish, Praetor. They fled. And whatever they were running from, it's finally arriving. Zol's central eye narrowed. Convenient timing for such a revelation, human. We detected the first anomalies 3 years ago, Chen replied. It's why we accelerated our plans to reveal ourselves. We had hoped for another decade of preparation. If this threat is real, Zol challenged, why come to us? Your technology clearly surpasses ours. Because we've run the simulations, Dr. Kamara interjected. Even with our quantum technology, we can't face this alone. And neither can you. She displayed projected casualty figures that made even the hardened praetor flinch. But together, combining your established infrastructure with our technological innovations, we need each other. Chen finished simply. Your species have survived for thousands of years through adaptation. It's time to adapt again. Zol was silent for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he dismissed his guards with a flick of his ceremonial talon. Show me everything, he commanded. And if I believe you, we will rewrite the history of the galaxy together. 1 year later, the newly constructed Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concordat gleamed under the light of 3 suns. The massive transparent dome, an architectural marvel combining Dominion durability with human quantum-stabilized materials, revealed the stars above, including the distant but visible defensive perimeter of synchronized battleships, jointly crewed by humans and former Dominion species. Ambassador Helena Chen, formerly Admiral, stood at the central podium addressing representatives from over 200 species. Her voice carried through the chamber without technological assistance, a sign of respect in Dominion diplomatic tradition. Today we welcome 34 new member species, she announced, gesturing to the newly installed delegation pods around the chamber's perimeter, all previously classified as developing under the old system. Applause echoed as representatives from worlds once deemed unworthy of notice took their places among the galactic community. Species that had been subjected to mere observation, or worse, exploitation, now held equal voice in the Concordat's decision-making processes. Co-Chancellor Zol, the former High Praetor who had made the unprecedented decision to dissolve the Dominion's hierarchical structure, nodded in approval from his position beside the human delegation. In a laboratory complex adjoining the Assembly Hall, Junior Analyst Vex Mora, now Chief of Interspecies Scientific Cooperation, worked alongside human scientists. The team had developed new detection systems specifically calibrated for the approaching threat from beyond known space. The simulations confirm it, she told her human colleague Dr. Aiden Park, her once dull exoskeleton now bearing the luminescent markings of her elevated status. The signal patterns matched those from the predecessor artifacts exactly. "They're coming. But this time we're ready," Park responded, activating a holographic display of the combined fleet. Hundreds of vessels representing technological approaches from dozens of species, all enhanced with human quantum technologies. The display showed the current deployment, a three-layered defensive perimeter extending beyond the galaxy's outer rim. Early warning systems based on reversed-engineered predecessor technology provided a detection range measured in hundreds of light-years. In Earth's Sol system, a massive shipyard surrounding Jupiter's once hidden facility revealed the true extent of human advancement. Not just warships, but exploration vessels designed to push beyond known space. Construction techniques developed by the crystalline Archean species have been combined with human quantum engineering to create ships that could traverse distances previously thought impossible. On the observation deck of the flagship Concordia, Zol stood beside Chen as they watched fleet exercises in a nearby asteroid field. The massive vessel incorporated technology from 17 different species, a testament to what cooperation could achieve in a single year. "You deceived us for centuries," Zol remarked, his voice carrying no accusation. "You could have conquered us." "That was never our intention," Chen replied, watching as ships executed maneuvers with perfect synchronization. "Humanity learned long ago that true strength comes from diversity, not dominion. We didn't hide to trick you. We hid because we didn't know if you would destroy us for being different." A quantum communication interrupted them. Humanity's farthest exploratory vessel had made contact with something at the galaxy's edge. The message was brief but chilling. "They're aware of us now, and they're changing course directly toward Concordat space." Zol's expression hardened. If the predecessors couldn't stop them. Chen turned to face him, determination in her eyes. The predecessors stood alone. "We stand together." She activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All vessels, Battle Readiness Protocol Omega. This is not a drill." Across the galaxy, ships of all designs and origins, once enemies, now allies, prepared to face an ancient darkness that had hunted intelligent life across the stars for millennia. And at the forefront, the ships that shouldn't exist led the way.